Welcome back subscribers, and hello YouTube viewers. On this occasion we're at the old city of Trogir, is how I'm going to pronounce it. That's Trogir. There's a lot to see. Directly behind me is a walk bridge over what looks like a bit of a canal, and it does appear that the old city is based, it appears to be an island, but it also appears that there's a canal that sort of encircles it, like a moat that you'd see with some of the more English and German castles. Now, I don't know which one's correct or not. I'll be struggling to get the drone up. I've already had a go, and it basically says you can fly. You've just got to sort of like do a tick off that you're authorised, and you will accept any responsibility if you crash it. So here's that steel structure of this overpath. It's got like a mesh there, like you'd have like on a sailing rig, and this is all steel, or so it appears to me. But what a beautiful looking, modern looking bridge or pedestrian overpass. Just spectacular. Absolutely. So here we have our first tower. I can tell you, as we make our way around, there will be more spectacular things to look at. I'm sort of starting off where there's not too much to look at. I can also add that this is also an area where shipbuilding occurs, and there are quite a number of cranes in the distance where that takes place. Now, there is a fort to my left, and there are kids playing soccer here, so I'm thinking this is not a bad location. I'll just come up these stairs. The tower is closed, so I can't go up any further than that first run of stairs, and we'll get a bit of a view. So there's your view of the shipyard, and I'm assuming this is a local match between certain schools. But what a location. You've got that fort directly at one side. I'm on another tower, and it's just fantastic. But there's a lot more to be seen, so let's continue on. So I'm going to assume this might be also the local soccer club for the area. That's what the team's called. They started in 1912, had their centenary in 2012. Okay, there's also a school here as well, and just if we look straight down this road, there is restaurants on both sides of the canal and this road as well, so it's a very much a tourist sort of area. So here we are at that fortress, and it is quite spectacular. I'll see if I can find a way in, and if I get to one of the higher points, but it's not looking that great. But yeah, as you can see, just to the right of the castle or fortress, there's the soccer oval, and that was the other tower that we stood at, overlooking that game of football. Now I'm hoping this will give you some perspective on how tall this is. This is extremely tall. So this just gives you another angle of the fortress or castle. And unfortunately we cannot get in. There's no entry points that I can see. But another fantastic day. Skies are blue, the grass is green, and there is a bit of a chill in the air, but the sun, the heat from the sun is pretty good. Now, in this town particularly, I believe sailing is a pastime for most of the gentlemen here. They're all doing work on their yachts, whether or not they're for charter or just for themselves. I don't really know, but then again, there's some huge cruise ships, and these are privately owned. Whether or not they're corporate ones, I have no idea, but they are huge. So it just goes to show you once again that Croatia is a place to come if you want to go cruising the islands along the Adriatic, and this is probably one of the ports they come to. I'm not sure if I like the more modern ones or maybe some of the older ones with the classical lines. I guess it doesn't really matter how you get to the locations. I do like the sailboats, so I much prefer the sail ones as opposed to the motored ones. So once again, this island has a church, has a lot of history, and this looks like their promenade. It's not too dissimilar maybe to Split, with a large line of, or a long line I should say, of palm trees. But some of these yachts are just spectacular. So once again, another substantial building. This is also that church that I've mentioned. And there's your, they're still taking tours. So the tour business is still happening in November, and we're talking mid-November now. And I do like this chap in the red that's approaching us. He's got his flag, so he's your tour guide, and he gives you a running commentary of the area. So he's more than likely a local or someone well informed on what goes on in this location and during the whole cruise. So just there is a group of German tourists, or so it appears. Their tour guide is speaking in German, I believe. So they're on a boat, I should say ship, cruising the Croatian coast. So there is another bridge here which we'll walk over to sort of better highlight the fact that the old city does appear to be an island, even though one side is part of the Adriatic, I have no doubt about it, but the other side that creates that island effect could be just a canal. But yeah, these things are huge. Just terrific. I'll keep going. What the other thing is, I've just noticed the whole bridge is moving as I'm walking across it, only because the bridge can be raised. So that's quite interesting. So some of the taller ships with their masts on that side can still make it. So there you go. So if you're on that side, there's nothing to be concerned about, because this bridge raises itself to get you out into the Adriatic. So moving away from that drawbridge, we come across a few more churches, and there's some beauties here. I'd say that's probably one of the more older ones just here, and the one with the slightly larger tower is probably just as old, but maybe not so much as this one. They definitely have, if you look right up the top, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit, it does have like a Romanesque sort of statues near the top of the tower. Okay, so we're going to make our way to that canal where I first started from, but the very start of it, where there should be a bridge that I crossed, to give you a better idea of how big this island is. Okay, so we'll cross the road here, and I'm going to see if I can make my way into this particular church. It does appear to be something special. It is attracting a lot of the crowds, and once again, you've got to go into the actual city itself, because it is being described as the old town or the old city. of Trogir, and they have these big open spaces like this one where you can have a cup of coffee. And yep, and being Memorial Day, oh, it actually has passed. Someone set up all the used candles that you'd put onto a gravestone of someone that's passed in your family, or at a memorial for those that fought in any war. And the one that's on display now is a remembrance for those that died in Vukovar. I have done a video of Vukovar with my son when we were here about 2 years ago, and it was a very tragic event that occurred there with the civilian population. So there you go. Just lovely. So it does very much appear that the church is closed, and I can understand why. There's the amount of tourism in the area is quite high, even if it's off season. But she's a beautiful church. Great courtyard though. And I do like the fact that you can bring your dog pretty much anywhere without too much drama. Now, just sticking my hand through the gates, you can see how spectacular that entrance to the actual church, the front doors actually are. That's just fantastic. I do like, I'm assuming they're lions that are protecting the entrance. Yeah, just terrific. Now once again I've found a plaque in relation to this courtyard that has the clock tower on it. On the right hand side you'll see that it's in English. If you'd like to read it, press pause. On the left hand side is Croatian. And I do like the image of how it once was back in the day. Just lovely. And this is what we're talking about and what it looks like today. Absolutely magnificent. I do enjoy how the locals just sit there and have a nice cup of coffee or a tea. This looks like a government building, but I'm not sure. And there is a chemist through those doors where that lady's passing right now. Okay, so I've been able to come to this plaque, and I'll sort of basically correct. This is a government building, and this was once the town hall. This is the one I highlighted that had the chemist on one side, and this one's got the tourist info on the left. It is closed at the moment. So there you go. It's great. The history never ends. And it really does date back hundreds of years. So I'm going to still make my way to the other bridge that brings you on to this, I'm going to call an island, and we've just passed before coming into that quadrangle or city square bridge that had the drawbridge. So now we're going to make our way to how to get onto it if you're from the mainland. So here we have the actual, what I'm calling the canal that creates the island of the old city. And eyeballing me, in the middle of your screen is a white cat meowing. Now, what I do is I do have a bag of cat food, dry cat food. And having been to a number of places now in Croatia, I will give any cat some food and let them enjoy it, because I have read where there's been signs posted saying you're more than welcome to feed the cats. So I'm thinking, well, that sounds good to me. So here's the bridge. I'll step on it and hopefully we'll see that bridge that we saw at the very start, the very modern one, in the distance, but it does have a bit of a hook turn, so we might be able to get it. So I'll cross here if I can, and let's see if I can get it in the distance. And as I mentioned, there is cafes everywhere. You don't have to travel far if you want a coffee, and I'm not sure if you can see it. In the middle of your screen you've got a couple walking on the path there, and it's just around the corner from there. I'll actually walk down there to give you an idea that we've made the circumference of the town. So there you have it. So that's the bridge that will take you onto the island. And just over there, middle of your screen, is where we started from. So my goal now is to make our way more so to the centre of this old town. So if you were coming over the bridge from the mainland onto the island, you would come over the bridge and you'd be greeted at this gate. Bear in mind, when these were built, people had donkeys, maybe horses and cattle, but basically on foot. So we'll go through here, let's see what we see. So we've been around the perimeter of the island, and it did look spectacular. We have been to that church. So now we just want to venture into some of the nooks and crannies of this old city. This is more like it. This is what I like to see. This is fantastic. So they do have breakfast at this location. It's a specialty coffee shop, but I love the arch. I'm sold on the arch. The arch is just lovely. And this is where you could have a nice quiet cup of tea out of the public eye. And I don't think most people realise that you've really got to make a little effort, not much, and you can come into some of these terrific little locations. And the other thing I've just noticed, which I don't see too often in Australia or pretty much anywhere else, check out that scooter. Scooters are very popular in particularly Croatia and Europe in general. That's electric, so that's great. And just look at that veranda. Just lovely. And people live here. And also, if you wanted to stay on this particular, the old city, you can rent an apartment. So the only thing I could suggest is maybe Airbnb, stays, bookings.com, all those sort of places could very well have or give you the opportunity to find a place in some of these old towns. It's another little courtyard. And just look at that. I'm not sure, is that somewhere where you'd open those doors and you'd hoist up stuff for storage, and the music being played in the background is not mine, it's just being played in the background. Now the problem I've got, there's our man with the red t-shirt, he knows the area well. And check out this pathway. Just terrific. Another little courtyard as a cafe, yep. but it's closed. It's just terrific. Okay, let's soldier on and see what we see. Now I'll just do a 360 turn where I am, and you can see how narrow the lanes are to people's homes. And I'm sure everyone's aware that when these were all built, there was no cars. As long as you can get a horse and small cart through, that's all that was required. But what I have noticed on this windowsill is, does anyone recall what these are used for? That's quite interesting. I think it's Guy Fawkes Night, people call it. I've called it Cracker Night, where once upon a time you were allowed to buy fireworks and let them go on a particular day during the year. But unfortunately, in Victoria, and I'm pretty sure in Australia, that's no longer the case. So if you can hear the background, you've got quite a lot of people. That's a tour group coming through. Candy shop. Once again, I just have to reiterate that if you come to Croatia, there's no need to panic if you don't speak the language. Everyone, pretty much in any tourist or hospitality sort of service, does speak English. We'll go down this one. But if you look at the angle, some of these buildings are pretty crooked. I don't think a level was used all that often back in the day, and it was just line of sight. So if you had someone that was slightly cross-eyed, you got a crooked house. Just lovely. So this is just walking in and out of the I don't know what you call it, the old city part. So we have done the perimeter, and now I'm just wandering around. And if you can't get your bearings right, you can get lost pretty easy. But if you go left, right, north, south, east or west, you'll hit water. Now here we go, here's another cat. Living the dream. So this is Villa St. Peter of Trogir. So as you can see, there's a sign saying you can rent the apartments here. There's a soba, so you can get a bed, an apartment or a studio. So it's your choice. But as you can see how uneven the walls are. But if these have been here for literally hundreds, not one or two, but more than that, years, these will never come down. And it doesn't really appear too much maintenance is involved. So here we have another church, which you expect to see. So this one's the St. Petra Church, or St. Peter Church. It's not open. There's a little plaque here that gives you the information. The interior was restored in the 17th century. So we know it was restored in the 7th century, but there's, I'm trying to see if I can find some sort of indication of when it might have been built. I doubt it was 1242. It seems a little bit too old. But who's to say? I'm not going to... once again, Croatian on this side, English on that side. Press pause if you'd like to read it. And if you do see these plaques, it means it's heritage listed, which is just great. But yeah, I do like the old wooden shutters. Just great. Now I know that that's a hair salon, just here on the left. So here's another little laneway, and what you can see here is another quite old building that has been renovated. If you look at each and every window frame, much more modern, and all the stonework is just much better pointed as opposed to some of the stonework in the distance. But still, just lovely. So here we have another courtyard. Look, I'm going to think that where you've got those, I don't know, they're door shutters. I don't think they're window shutters. That they used to hoist up goods up there. It's got me baffled. I'm not sure. Was it once for storage of grain or for livestock? I'm not sure. It's a cafe now though, and it does look terrific. You can see the old and the new. The newer parts are a lot more straighter. The windows definitely more modern. Just terrific. I'm just going to assume that the reason this area is closed is because the numbers of tourism has dropped, and it's probably not cost effective for some restaurants to open and employ seasonal staff to stay a little bit longer. Now, this is what I like. Now, if you look quite clearly how these two buildings are built next to each other, I'm in the shade, so what I'll do is, if you look down the bottom, and slowly as we go up, look how the gap gets bigger and bigger. Now, which one's more crooked? I would say that one is, where the cat is at the top of the stairs, the black cat. And this one has been repointed and repaired so that it is a lot more vertical, which is quite interesting. So we'll go down this way. Just to remind people, if you are renting anything, and it does appear that you're coming to a home that looks medieval, rest assured that the sewage system, the electrical system, the heating, the hot water and all that sort of stuff, all that infrastructure for a home is, right up to date. So there's nothing to fear. Actually, some of them are super modern on the inside, and are just fantastic. Like this one here would appear to most as something quite rickety, but I can tell you now that once you get in there, you'll think, wow, this is something special. I do like these ones. So these are probably back in the day, like private courtyards. Were they for the nuns, the priests? I don't know, or the wealthy back in the day. But to have high walls to give them some sort of privacy. So there you go. Now, the other thing I have noticed is there are a lot more, it's hard to explain, but wherever I've been, I've noticed that men in particular are quite comfortable travelling around and touring on their own. I don't really see many single women of age travelling unless they're with a group of friends, which is fine. But it's just interesting to see that the guys, I'm seeing a number of what we call, I guess, grey-haired nomads travelling like myself on my own with no issue, no drama. But with the ladies, they like to travel in groups. And I think, look, it's probably much better to travel in groups because you get into the situation where if you see something, you've got something to chat about. Whereas if I see something, I've just got to say, yep, it looks great, and continue walking. And that's one of the great benefits of putting it on film and sharing it on YouTube, so people who cannot get around much or are thinking about coming out to the locations that I've been to, I'm hoping this inspires you, gives you a heads up, and lets you know that it's not that difficult, and there really isn't any fear that you should have of coming out either on your own or in groups. It shouldn't make any difference. If I can do it, there's nothing special about me, and so anyone can do it. I do like how they do hang out their undies. That's terrific. Love it. That's great. And with the kids, I've noticed there's no helicopter parents. The kids get to do and go whatever they want to do, which is great. I can tell you with the research I've done that Croatia is one of the safest places in relation to crime, so there's no issues like that. A lot of people leave doors open, windows open. I just wanted to show you this again because these are quite popular, and I've just not noticed them in Australia that often. There probably are some, but I've just noticed it, whereas the electric scooters are quite common, which is just great. So now, once again, have a check out this. Wow, just fantastic. So that lady that was pushing the wheelie bin, she's like a street cleaner. She goes around, keeps it all nice and clean. I've noticed that everyone knows her as she goes past, and everyone greets her, which is just lovely. And I'm slowly trying to make my way out to where I started from, if I can remember. And I think I've made it. Yep. So we've had a good look around. I might go up that staircase there just to see what kind of view I have. So here we have this saint that greets everyone that comes over from the mainland onto this island. And as you can see in the background, the hills. Very busy with tourism, but not as busy as it can be, because otherwise all those other cafes that we have seen would have definitely been open. Now crossing over that bridge on the island side, as you can see all the way down, there are cafes, places to eat, places to drink. But I'm assuming staff numbers are reduced as there is a decline in tourism. So we're still now moving to where I started from, but on the outside of the thing. Now I just want to highlight this scooter. Now I can tell you I have seen women and men, and I'll be conservative and say in their over 70s riding. And the reason being, when I spoke to one of them, was they do like the wider tyres for balance. And if there's any potholes, it doesn't seem to be an issue for them. But there's nothing, I think, terrific to see a much mature woman on a scooter zipping around with no fear. They're more inclined to wear a helmet, and then when they take their helmet off, you realise, wow, she's a mature woman, and it's just great. I think that's terrific. The old guys, well, if they've been riding motorbikes all their life or had any bicycle riding experience, I think it's pretty easy for them, but it's good to see the older ladies having fun and being independent, I guess. So here we are, still plenty of cafes to go and see. Once again, plenty of Vespers. More cafes. Here's another thing that I've noticed. The pot plant holders, or the pot plants, they are very similar to this. So I'm assuming they're a popular way of having a barrier to stop people crossing or cars crossing, but also to display any pots and plants and creates a nice barrier. It's an unusual design. I've never seen those anywhere else but here, and they are everywhere, and they look like cast cement. Here's Luigi's Pizzeria, and that gives you an idea of what that bridge looks like from a distance, where we started from, I guess. And I've just got to go a little bit more further to where the car's parked, and I think that's the end of the tour. It is a shame that I couldn't get the drone up. I would have liked to have got the drone up in this immediate area. I just don't have a Croatian SIM card that has a phone number on it, and I would have been all right to do so. Fly. So if you're a local and you are watching this video, you can fly your drone. If it's under 250 grams, the ones that I have, so they're super light, a pigeon will do more damage to a pedestrian than the drone. It would be nice to see, and I'm assuming there must be someone on YouTube that's already done it by drone. There's my car right there, the little black one. And what's this here? Is this advertising? It does appear to be so. Okay, well that sees us through, I guess. So here we are at the hills of Trogir. We've got in the foreground people who are picking olives. In the distance you'll see the yachts that are sailing. And as I pan around to the left, it can be quite difficult to see where that island is. Now, basically, right in the middle, you should be able to see the fortress and where that soccer field was, or the football field, and that small tower. And then as we pan a little bit further, in the center of your screen, you should be able to see that tall church where there was a lot of tourism and tour guides showing the tourists the church. And as we pan a little bit more to the left, just there in the middle, when you really can't see it, is that drawbridge. And then as we pan further, there's that other bridge where ships, boats, or anything with a mast can really not make it across. It's only for the smaller boats. So unfortunately, I was not able to get the drone. I even wanted to get the drone up here, and it also said, yes, you can fly the drone, but it wants to send a text message to me saying you're happy to be responsible for any damage that you that occurs if you hit something. But I don't have a local. It's a pity, I should have got one. I'll have to rethink this. So if you are coming out with a drone, I can sort of suggest that, look, you're going to have to get one if you want to fly. They're not restricted zones, so there is a big difference between a restricted zone, where it's a military base, airports, prisons, things of that nature where they just don't want you to fly whatsoever. And then you've got what's called authorised zones, where they're happy for you to do it, but you just be aware that you have to abide by the 30-metre rule above people's heads. I always fly over water, so they don't have that issue. Also, just in the middle of your screen is the quarry. That's huge. Now, if you're curious why you can't fly your drone, now I know why. So So here we are at the end of this video of the old city of Trogir. It's much bigger, so you've got the new part on the other side of the canal, and also you've got a huge industrial area where they do build ships. If you did like the video, by all means click on that like button or that thumbs up icon. Please consider subscribing. Subscribing does not cost you 1 cent, but it helps out the channel immensely. But most importantly, stay safe, commute safe wherever you are, and have a great day. And thanks for watching.